Well, we're a couple weeks away. We actually have an exhibition game Saturday. We're really advanced, though, because of the summer. As many of you know, we went to Spain this summer, and it was probably, in all the years I've been here, the best trip, the best thing that happened to our program. Their cell phones didn't work there. And it was like when I was a kid, you had to find things to do, and they did them together, and they were on a bus. We drove from Valencia to Barcelona, which is about a 3.5-hour drive, and they were playing games, and it was unbelievable. It's really, really, really good to see that, because if you look at us, we're going to dress 11 players once Walker's eligible, and 6 of those 11 players are new. And normally you wouldn't think that that would be the script to have a great year, but these kids all played together since they were little, and even though it's funny, Mark Snyder couldn't be here, so he called me and we were talking, and we only have 6 years of experience on the floor that have played at Oakland. Our starting center, Percy Gibson, and his backup, Brechting, have never played at Oakland. Our 4, Hayes, has played 1 year. Femi Olajabi has played 1 year. So that's 2. At the 3, Max Hooper's played 1 year. Sharon hasn't played. And so that's 3. And then 1 for Nick Daniels. And the freshman backs him up. And then Kay's been here 2 years. So if you put it all together, it's only 6 years of playing at Oakland. But yet, Percy Gibson's a 5th-year player. Max Hooper's a 5th-year player. Jalen Hayes is a 3rd-year sophomore. Nick Daniels is a 3rd-year sophomore. So we have experience, we have age, but we don't have a lot of minutes with Oakland. So you would be scared of that, except they've all known each other forever and they've all played together. So I'm really, really a believer in this team. I really like them. I think we have a chance to be really, really good. I will say this. I'm not afraid to say this. It will come back and haunt me probably, but 1 through 11, talent-wise, it's the best I've ever had, and that's saying a lot. I've had some great, great teams. 1 through 11, I've never had the level of talent that we have at every one of those spots. All 11 of those players could start. Our freshman class was unbelievable in Spain. The big kid he's somebody that's gonna. You guys are gonna love watching him play. He's got an unbelievable motor for 6'11". 2-3 years from now, we're gonna be sitting here talking about him. And when you don't get that at our level at 6'11" very often, so we're really, really excited about the freshman class. Cumberland can shoot it like an Oakland player, and so from 1 to 11, we're talented. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. That was a long opening statement.
Open it up for questions, please.
Coach, we got to know the preseason poll. Guys, kind of a 2-part question. Just based on your experience, how accurate, or close to being accurate are those polls usually? And what are your thoughts on where you guys were picked?
Right. Well, they're never accurate, but they, especially at our level, because the media scrutiny and the people that vote really don't know who our freshman class is, and we don't know who Valpo's freshman class, and because it's just. We don't have the national scrutiny that the Big Ten has or the ACC, where everybody has seen those kids play in the McDonald's All-American games and things like that. So those polls are always, but all it is what happened last year. And, the last game of the season last year, if we win and Valpo loses, we win the championship. All right? They won and we lost. So, people look at us, and I've read that, why does anybody think Oakland's going to be any good? They had a losing record last year. Well, we were 11-5 in the league. All right, and 11-5 is what counted. The fact that we went to Michigan State, Arizona, Maryland, Pittsburgh, and Clemson in a 10-day period probably resulted in why we didn't have a winning overall record. But we were 11-5 in the league, and Valpo had 3 losses. So it was really only a two-game discrepancy. So when you look for positive signs on where you can, what you can do this season, that's what we look at. We look at the fact that we won here in our game against them, and in their game at that place there were 17 lead changes. So obviously they were competitive games. I say that because our league is really good. Valpo's great. They're really, really good. I saw somewhere the other day they were picked like 32nd or something in one poll. And all I'm saying is that that's how good our league's going to be. Milwaukee's going to be really good, really good. And so it's going to be a very competitive league, but sometimes leagues are competitive but not real good. This is going to be competitive, but there's going to be a lot of really good teams.
Coach, you guys aren't strangers to transfers that have made an impact, but is there any chance all this comes together if not being in the Horizon League?
Well, our first recruiting class to the Horizon League was all transfers and Femi. The Felder, Daniels, and Hayes class, which appears to be one of the greatest classes we've ever had, we did that from the Summit League. Now, we told them we think we're going into the Horizon League, and we were using that carrot in front of them, but we weren't in it at the time. And then this class is our first freshman-dominated Horizon League class. And I think this class, as I said, is going to be special. So the fact that we went from the 20th best league in the country to the 10th or 12th best league in the country has seriously affected our recruiting. I don't think it did with the transfers in that they all played together in high school. We could have been in a, the Man on the Moon League, and I think they wanted to play together. And one of the things that they saw is they went off away, and Kay didn't. Kay stayed close to home. His family sees him play. He plays 39 minutes a game. He's the preseason player of the year. Everything that we told him in recruiting has come true. And all these guys that were, he played with in high school or they were close growing up, they communicate to each other. And the other guys are, they go away and they find out all the things that are said to them in recruiting might not be the case. And so they wanted to come. And then our system of play has a lot to do with it. I'd like to say the black court and all that has something to do with it, but it's all kind of, we're trying to put out this persona. But I think our system of play is why they transferred here, not the conference. I love the conference. This conference has been in the national championship game 2 of the last 7 years. So you got to say it's a player. You can't say, so the conference has a lot to do with it. But I do think those kids came because of Kay.
Coach, to piggyback on what he was talking about with the transfers, talk about that local connection with those guys, and was that by design?
Well, we recruited Martez very hard. We tried to recruit Sharon, but it was over before we really had a chance. And the same with Percy. We tried, and then when Percy had first committed to Dayton, and then the coach of Dayton left, and he went to Iowa State, we tried real hard then too. So they knew us. We've been around. Getting good players, I hope, is by design. Where they come from isn't, but it makes, we got Georgia coming to play a basketball game at Oakland next year. Why is an SEC school coming to Georgia? Well, as soon as they signed, what's the kid from Bloomfield? Yeah, Mayton. And then this past year they signed a kid named Jonathan Edwards from John Glenn. As soon as they got 2 local kids, I called Mark, hey, you've got to bring these kids back to Michigan. And so he did. So that was by design, but you take advantage of what happens. I got Kay Felder from Pershing High School, state champion, and he's the #1 play on ESPN. I think twice last year, maybe 3 times he was on the top 10 list. All right, and those kids are sitting there watching it. Well, you can come here and be part of this, and you know him, and so we used Kay. Yes, we used him in recruiting, but to say it's by design, no. You take what's out there and you go for it.
Greg, what have you seen? How has he fit in? What have you seen from him personally?
I love him. I love him. The kid is got a smile on his face. He's around the office. Everybody, talks to him. He stops. He talks to my admin. A lot of the players don't. They're scared when they come up into the office. He's got a smile. He's talking to people. I love the kid. Players love him. He's been obviously he's a very good player. He was the 6th man on a team that was ranked top 15 in the country, so he's probably pretty good. Right. But as a person, he's been unbelievable. He's a kid from the city who's learning how to become a man. And he's not there yet. In no way, shape, or form is he's there yet. But some of the things that have happened to him, he's put himself in a position for him to happen to him. But I can't say anything greater than I just said about him. I love the kid.
Talking to Kay about his personal goals this year, he turns everything to the team. what goals do you have for him personally? Where could we be talking about him at the end of the season?
Well, Brad, I just don't do that stuff, and I don't want to sound cliche-ish or, we don't even show them the stat sheet. They don't. When our games are over, they don't see a stat sheet. When at the end of the season, when the all-league teams are made, we go to practice next day. I don't even say, "Hey, congratulations, you made the all." We just don't ever talk about those things. We say this: you can shoot too much, you can talk too much, you can worry about yourself too much, but you can never rebound too much. So just do the things like that, and everything's going to work out. And they bought into it. And that kid's really bought into it. I've never heard him say, "I want to do this" or "I want to do that." I want a ring.
Coach, talking to your players beforehand, a lot of them were talking about two things. As players, they like the depth in your team. They also like the way the chemistries are working out. You see any similarities to the 2010, 2011 teams when you got to the tournament with this group? Or?
I see a work ethic, and we tell them you have to have the right to win. You've got to have done the work. You're going to the plays are going to happen, and you're going to determine whether you win or not. Coach isn't going to determine whether you win. Referees aren't going to determine whether you're going to determine. There's going to be 20, 25 plays during the course of the year that one of you guys are going to have to make that's going to determine what our final record is and do we win a championship. I see the same work ethic. I see the same camaraderie. I've already said there's more talent 1 to 11 now than there was then, and we were really good. We had a kid in the NBA. So how does that mesh? How does that work out? That's why we play the games. We'll find out. But there's a lot of similarities.
You talked about the freshman class. Jaden was a guy who scored a lot as a senior in high school. Can you talk about some of the skills that they're going to bring and how they're going to mesh in with the talent?
Well, we'll start with Xavier. Xavier's a big, strong guy that's just learning how to play. Of the three of them, he's probably got a very high upside, but it's going to take him a little bit longer. Cumberland is a classic Oakland guard. He's going to run. He's going to pull from the three. He's going to make shot after shot after shot. He does put it on the ground a little bit better than I thought, and he, as some of the classic Oakland guards, wasn't very good defensively, and he's getting better. And then the big kid, I can't say I've ever had a 6'11" kid anything like this kid. Benson averaged 3 points a game in high school and didn't have a motor. And that's kind of why he's been in and out of the NBA, because people question his motor. But he's a very talented guy, and we learned how to deal with him, and he learned how to deal with us. And, he's still, many would say, the best player to ever play at Oakland. This kid turns that motor on, and he is, if you watch today at all, he's sprinting up and down and driving on the floor and doing stupid stuff because he's going, and once he learns to channel that, he's going to be something. But the motor thing is, you can't teach that in a big kid. You just can't. It's just, in 38 years in this business, I've never been able to give somebody a motor. So that kid's got a chance to be special. And the reason I say that, I think a lot of people wouldn't come to a press conference and say that stuff, is because I want him motivated to understand how good he can become, because he has no idea how great he can be. And so we're going to say some positive things to help him understand.
Coach, can the Horizon League be a two-bid league this year, in your opinion?
Absolutely.
And what will it take?
For us, Valpo has a lot of preseason hype. They won 28 games last year. They got everybody back. They lost to Maryland by 3 in the NCAA tournament. We played at Maryland last year, which is a little different than a neutral site, and we had the ball with 4 minutes to go, down 3. So, I understand how good Maryland is. Their hype is going to help them if they didn't win it, but they've got to take care of business in the non-league. For us to get an at-large bid, we're going to have to beat Washington, Georgia, Michigan State, Virginia, Colorado State. We're going to have to win 3 of those 5 games. We win 3 of those 5 games, go 16-2 in the league, 15-3 in the league, and lose to Valpo in a great championship game, then I think we would have a very good chance. Because if we did that, our RPI with our schedule, and it's going to be in the top 30s. Can we do that? I don't know. But that's what it's going to take. I think Milwaukee's really good. I mean, Milwaukee. Haven't seen that, as we talked about at the beginning. I haven't seen their recruits, but I understand they got a junior college All-American point guard that's going to give Kay all that he's, you know. And if that is the case with what they've got coming back, don't sleep on them. Your Detroit team, you know, has got a lot of talent. A lot of people think that they've got a chance to win it. So there's 4 teams right there. I believe Wright State's one of the better teams in the league. Everybody's down on them, but they lost 4 guys and 2 all-league level guys. So they're all back. So it's going to be a heck of a league.
But the key is Horizon League teams have to start. They can't have any moral victories in non-conference. They got to start beating some teams.
Well,
when they get those opportunities.
The last couple years, the league hasn't done it. But if you look at the history of the league has done it and will again. We're in it was a downward cycle. A lot of great players left the league. And, the league's had a guy drafted every year except last year for 6-7 years.
Right.
And there aren't a lot of leagues that can say that. Let's take the MAC. Everybody thinks the MAC has good basketball. You know that Rashad Holmes from Bowling Green was drafted this year. Do you know who the last player was drafted from the MAC before him? 2003, Chris Kaman. That's 12 years. Our league had one every year, and my guess is there's 2 more coming in Bass and Felder. I think both of those guys are probably going to get drafted. So, this league puts out great players and has done some great things just the last couple of years. We had Pittsburgh beat and gave it away. That wasn't I guarantee you, Reggie, if you were in our locker room, it wasn't a moral victory.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the non-conference schedule and how you playing professional teams overseas kind of help you guys prepare, for bigger teams.
Well, one of the reasons I'm so high on the freshmen is that their first competition was against 25, 26-year-olds and how they handled that. Our conference schedule, my athletic director, who, by the way, obviously is a marketing genius. Look at what's going on here with the floor. He let a basketball coach with a goofy idea to paint a court black, and he turned that into new lights, sound. It's introductions. It's going to be a show out there. But he wanted to change our scheduling philosophy, and he is in charge. So we've backed it down. We're not playing 7 or 8 of those games. And in next year's schedule, we're looking at 15 to 18 home games. So he has really, really made a push to build this place, fill it up, and get people in here. And as I said, we've got Georgia coming in. And so he has really driven that. Now, personally, do I want to play 10, 8 teams like that? Yeah, I do. That was our philosophy to build the program. It's been good to us. It kills our record, but it's been good to us. But this is a new way of doing things, and I'm on board. The team's on board, and we're going to do it this way and see what happens. Maybe this way will get us that at-large bid. We'll see.
You ever ask Michigan State to come here?
They do. We have a home and home with them, except we have to play it in the Palace.
They come here.
They did. They opened the building.
Okay.
They did
since
along.
Then, has there been discussions?
Oh, I ask every time,
Yeah.
but they're not going to come here. And, from our standpoint, honestly, I'd rather play it in the Palace. There's 20,000 people. Now, where it's a home game and about 6,000 to 8,000 will be in black and the other 14 will be in green, but it is our home game. We get the rights to it. I think, honestly, that our relationship with Michigan State, that we play them every year and that they'll play us in the Palace, is one of the, if I were to list 5 factors how you can go from D2 to D1 and have the success we've had, that would be one of the 5 factors. That Tom Izzo's friendship has been true to our friendship, and no matter what, plays those games. And I tell him all the time that I give him a lot of credit for our program being where it is, because he has never backed out of it, never even threatened to.
Speaking of that, John Beeline, boys, you guys like to play. What about that? You used to play them. That's always a shot. And, you beat them here, that one time, but when you've had the shot at them, it didn't go well when you might have had a shot at them.
would you like another shot at Michigan?
Well,
And how do you feel about that? Because they played, I mean, they played teams from out of state,
Right.
you know.
We would love to. We had that going. We had Michigan State on the road, Michigan in the Palace, Michigan State the next year in the Palace, Michigan on the road. We had it set up perfect, and it had a lot to do with us getting to where we got to. John came in. Do I wish that was still going on? Yes. But I cannot have opinions of a guy that wants to run a program, how he runs his program. That's his decision. He's made it that way. Did it affect us? Yes. But, you know, I've never, since that happened, I've talked to him 75 times and we've never talked about it again. He came to my cancer event last year. Everything's great. I'm not going to broach the subject. I figure if he ever wants to play us again, he'll broach it with me.
And the other thing too, on the athletic director, you know, he has made it clear that men's basketball is the focal point of what's going on. You know, they got a club football team now. The hockey club team is pretty big. There's been talk of those sports, but he's talked about Sweet 16. He wants you to be another Gonzaga. How do you feel about that pressure of that? Because you have had a successful program, but it's been to a certain thing, and he wants bigger things from this.
Right. Well, Pat, as I look back at Oakland and how we've transformed from 1984 to when I got here to a school with 8,000 to 10,000 students and nobody on campus to this 21,000 student, $1 billion worth of buildings, just you know, an unbelievable growth of a university. And I've been part of that. I look and I see there's two things that we haven't done that I would like to accomplish as the basketball coach. I think we've accomplished everything. You know, beating Michigan State would be a accomplishment, but I don't think it's something that you have to do to, you know. But the two things that we haven't done is there's been no number behind our name. You know, I still remember we played, Michigan State played Texas and Oakland played Oregon in the Palace, and I was driving my son to school then, and we drove by the Palace every day. And it's every day I saw a sign, Michigan State number 2 versus number 4 Texas, Oakland versus number 15 Oregon. We did win that game.
Right.
But we've never had that number behind us. So that's one thing that I would like to accomplish before I'm out of here. And then the second thing is playing the second week of the NCAA tournament. Those are two things that if I can get those done as the coach here, then I can walk away and have accomplished everything I'd ever want to.
Also, you know, the athletic program in general. I mean, it was, for a long time it seemed, okay, to outsiders, right? Almost like a Division II program that had become Division I. One of the things that that's changed a lot culturally since then. There's been kind of a flushing out of, you know, with what happened with the women's basketball program, things like that. Can you talk about how it's different now in your job? You've seen it all. Heck, you were the athletic director. You've been the fix-it guy. You might as well be the plumber. Now it's about being a high-level basketball coach more than anything else.
And it really is nice. It really is nice. I don't have to go to meetings and worry about, you know, everywhere I go, people still think I do, though. You know, I'll go into a Kroger and somebody will bitch at me about their seat, you know.
Right.
Like I really have something. And in the old days I did.
Right.
You know, they had a right. But no, we've got a group of administrators that are really doing a great job. We've got people that are committed to the Division I experience for the student athlete. And we've got people that are committed and want Oakland to be a big-time player. That's why we got in the Horizon League. That's why our sights were set on getting in the Horizon, because we believe the Horizon is a big-time conference. We've been to the national championship game, and I believe we will be again. So, yes, it's great to be able to come into my office and not worry about, you know, who's got to sell this ticket or who's going to promote this game, or do I need to go down there and say to the person in charge of promoting what's going on, how many people are we going to have, you know. I don't have to do any of that stuff anymore. I just got to coach my basketball team, and it's a great feeling.
Well, the other thing, obviously, you got a lot of talent coming in, and it's different from when you first started, where you would take a freshman class and build them up to 4 years. It's kind of in and out, and every year is completely different. How has that adjustment been for you?
Well, that's the way you got to do it to be successful at our level. And, nobody cares. I got a president who wasn't here when we went 50-3 or something in that league. I mean, we won 32 straight home games. That president wasn't here. He didn't know anything about that. He didn't care. He wants to go 50-3 in the next 53 games. And that's my job, and it's fluent, and you got to do what you got to do here. And right now, we're in on, I can't say who, but this recruiting class is going to match the last one, we believe, and it's all because where we're at, what we're doing, and how we're perceived.
But you had to change down through the years. It used to be like it was like a program thing, where you take players,
Right.
especially when you were a Division II coach,
Right.
and try to mold them. A lot of your kids became Division I caliber players.
Right.
Now you're getting transfers in, and you got to adjust more on the fly. I guess that's the point I'm getting to.
Yeah, the philosophy is get the best players you can, then figure out how to play. We won a 59-56 game in here last year. Those are our halftime scores in the old days. And hopefully they're going to be our halftime score again this year. But you had to do what you had to do. We went undefeated in the league last year, and I don't know if we scored over 70 in half of those games we won. So you're absolutely right with that group of kids. We do. Now, we want shooters. We want athletes. And that's what we recruit, shooters and athletes. But we're not going to, if a guy that's not that is a big-time player and wants to transfer to Oakland, I'm going to take him and then figure out how to play with him.
Also, the situation, I talked to you about this last year. You guys had to go to Valpo, which is like a glorified high school gym. Now, with this whole Horizon thing being here, talk about the difference of it. It makes, to me, just looking at it from the outside, especially Valpo being your primary competition, more winnable for you guys to get to the tournament. How huge a factor is that? And did you push for that?
I think it's more winnable for every team. And I don't think it's a huge home court advantage, even though it's close. We've come from where you played on a neutral site, close to schools. A national writer tweeted 2 weeks ago, the Horizon League's making a huge effort to become a big-time league because of this tournament being at a neutral site, because none of the Power Five, the Missouri Valley, none of the big-time players in the sport of basketball go to a home site. They go to a neutral site. Now, that might not be true because I think the Mountain West goes to Vegas, but Vegas is Vegas. And that's what we want to be. And I think as a league, we're committed to getting at-large teams, to putting all our resources to this, to becoming this top 6, top 8 league. And you can't do that unless you have a neutral site. Detroit was the perfect place for it because you've got the best people in the world at filling an arena. When Tom Wilson and Gibbs were at the Palace, they had 1 million straight sellouts. Davidson passes away, they leave, they go to the Red Wings, couldn't sell out, and they've got 400 and some in a row now. You've got the best in the world at it, and they embraced it. They want it with the new building. They wanted it. So here, take it and make it this great thing. My vision of it is that in 10, 15 years, it's going to be the same thing as the one in St. Louis where the Missouri Valley goes to St. Louis. There's no Missouri Valley team in St. Louis. But they all go there and it gets sold out and it's, on CBS, and that's my vision for the Horizon League in 10 years.
Is it different than the Summit League when you guys used to play in Kansas City and there'd be like 1,000 people there for a game, or 500 or something, in kind of a big arena? Do you see it being, because Detroit is there too?
Right. I hope
you
so.
and Detroit are kind of married together in a certain way.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah, well, they don't like that, but is it working out the way you wanted that way?
Everything, our move into the Horizon League has been everything we thought it should be. Our rivalry with Detroit has driven this. This is probably why Olympia wants it, because they envision, what that could be a quarterfinal game, a semifinal game, or a championship game if Detroit and Oakland are playing there. And Detroit has new leadership in their athletic director, and he's really good. He's a very smart man, and he's embraced this. He's embraced this, and our two athletic directors, people don't want to know that, but they like each other, and they're doing it together. I don't like anybody from Detroit. except maybe Reggie.
Well, last year,
I'm right here.
We got time for one more question.
last year when you played them, they beat you down there, and it seemed like your team came together after that. You talked about defensively. Was it, every year is different. Last year you started to play defense after that particular game. Can you talk about how that game may have brought your program and maybe defined it with a loss?
They beat the hell out of us. It wasn't just a loss. And when you lose it, that was the first time they'd beaten us since we got in the league.
Right.
And it was a devastating blow to us. And we had to reinvent ourselves. And we did, and our kids bought into it. And like I said, that next week we beat Cleveland State, I think, 59-56 here.
Yeah, didn't you
Yeah.
beat
We beat Green Bay. No, we beat Green Bay the next week, 69-66.
Well, you started to play defense.
Well, we started to, we didn't play that fast tempo. We slowed the tempo down.
Right,
and,
right.
Yeah, a lot less possessions. I think we played defense, Pat. Maybe we played it better.
Yeah, well, but you had to learn in a certain way, I guess, in this league about you're not going to run and gun like maybe you did in the Summit League and be able to.
Well, we're going to find out, Pat, because that's what we're going to do this year.
So
And that's one of my biggest goals. Is I was told, and he can tell you this. I was told when we got in this league, you can't win in this league playing that way. This is a football league, man.
Right.
And telling me you can't do something is not. I'm a stubborn man.
So you're going to run and gun.
Oh, we're going to shoot it. We're going to run. We're going to press.
Like Oakland back in the day.
Yep.
100 points a game.
Yep. We scored 99 all 3 games or we averaged 99 the 3 games in Spain. Now,
All right,
if we're 0-16, we'll probably change.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner than that, Coach. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. If you need Coach offline, please just let me know, and we can continue one-on-one conversation. I'm going to bring our women's basketball head coach, Jeff Tungate, up.